How are you all doing, guys? So, what do you plan to do within the next 30 days? So, let's do this every day, except for Saturday and Sunday. So, we're doing 4 topics. We begin with motivational leadership. We will cover motivational leadership beginning today until Friday or maybe Thursday. And then on Friday, it can be a free day. It would depend on your feedback. If there's something that you want us to talk about on Friday, that can be a free day. And then next week, we would talk about impact speaking, or rather, conflict management. How do we manage conflict in our lives? I believe conflict management should be a skill for all people managers. Third week, we'll talk about impact speaking. And then finally, on the last week, that's the fourth week, let's talk about selling or sales. Why should we talk about sales? Because every day we sell ideas, we sell goods, we sell services. So sales is not just for people who sell products, people who work in a sales organization, but really for everyone who needs to sell what they think, what they do to others so others would follow along. So those are the 4 topics I'm thinking of. But again, it leaves us some leeway, especially on Fridays. We will have 4 Fridays to talk about topics that you feel strongly about. Okay, ready? Let's begin. The question in Filipino, para saan ka gumigising, is a powerful question. Bakit nga ba tayo gumigising? What motivates us to do the work that we do every day? It should be a question all leaders should answer. So today we talk about motivational leadership. There are many different kinds of leadership, and many speakers and lecturers call their own version of leadership with different kinds of names. Today we talk about this kind of leadership that I really love. So what is motivational leadership? Here's my definition of motivational leadership. Motivational leadership is leading in a manner that makes people and organizations exceed their limits. Again, motivational leadership is leading in a manner that makes people and organization exceed their limits. Why is this important? Because organizations would want to keep the status quo. And people are always fearful of things that they don't know. And so people and organizations tend to put limits to what they can do. These could be real limits or these could be imagined limits. And so motivational leaders lead in a manner that encourages people to move along and exceed what they think are hurdles before them, exceed the limits that they have imposed upon themselves. So how do you actually motivate others? Okay, so today, since we're breaking this down into 4 sections, I will be talking about 2 things. Number one, what are the mindsets of motivational leaders? And second, what is one key ingredient of motivational leadership that is so essential that all the rest of the interventions or all the rest of the approaches of a motivational leader would actually fail? So yun yung pangalawa, I'll keep you in suspense. So first, mindset. The second one is the element of motivational leadership that I believe really determines the success of the rest of the interventions. Okay, just a quick note. Being a motivational leader will benefit you both at work and at home. Many of the techniques that you will be learning today and in the next 4 days will be applicable as well to your parenting. Because when we're parenting young kids, it's really more about discipline. But as they grow older, we become motivators and coaches and mentors to them, and eventually we become consultants to them. So we move from being discipline driven leaders at home to more um, motivation. Maybe the goal is towards motivation. That's that's the that's the transition. Okay, so this will apply both for your parenting and for your professional life as well. Okay, let me say hi first. Are you all good? Did you catch the definition? Okay. When we do this in corporations, we usually have a workshop. For today, we won't do any workshop, and I won't be telling a lot of jokes and a lot of stories because we only have about an hour. Okay. So let's begin with the mindsets, and I've broken down the 5 mindsets of motivational leaders. Okay. The first mindset of motivational leaders is this. My mindset, if I am to motivate people, is this: people actually want to do well. I just need to help them discover how. It's very hard to motivate if we have prejudged people and judge them in a manner that boxes them in. Motivational leaders believe in the best in people, and that's what motivates motivational leaders. So, because if you don't think that people have an inherent desire to do well, you won't see the need to motivate them. But if you feel, and if you know, and if you think that they really want to do well, except that they don't see how and they don't know how. You see, when you're progressing in any skill or any human endeavor, you actually don't see things until you reach a certain vantage point, meaning you won't see how far you could run until you start running. You know what I mean? If I plan to run a 42K at the beginning of the training, I won't see my capability until I reach certain distances that I could run. But before I could start that journey, I have to be convinced that this is something that I want, that this is something that I desire. And that's the same with people. When you believe that they desire to actually do well, you would encourage them to move along, and allow them to see their potential as they're moving along. You know, my kids are learning table tennis this quarantine season. I've set up the table tennis center or area in our home. I have prepared for this, and so we're all set up. But not all of them are motivated the same way. Danny is all feel. She loves doing it when she feels like it. Migo is more structured. At certain hours of the day, he wants to go out and play. Spring is more encourage me, inspire me, make me want it. So she's more, ano ba, pakipot, nagpapasuyo. So if I approach them the same way, it won't work. But there's one thing in common: my belief and my mindset that they all want to learn. Migo wants to learn, Danny wants to learn, Spring wants to learn. If I don't have that in the back of my head, it's hard to motivate them in a way that they wish to be motivated and approach them specific to how they want to be motivated. So because I believe Nigo wants it, I will motivate him according to his rigid approach. Because Danny wants to be motivated whenever she feels like it, even if it's in the middle of the day, I will motivate her according to that approach in learning. And because Spring wants Daddy to court her, to convince her, then I approach her that way. Again, it begins with the mindset. They want this. They just need to see how. They want to learn this. They just want to be helped to discover how. So that's the first. Believe in the desire of people to do well. Okay? Second thing, if you want to become a good motivational leader, You need to believe that change is necessary. Change is essential. That's the mindset. You're a change leader if you're a motivational leader, because you don't motivate them to stagnate. You don't motivate them to regress. You don't motivate them to stay mediocre. You motivate them towards change that is positive. And so it is essential for you to look at the organization as a place where good change can happen. It is important for you to look at the person and say, this person can be much better than where he is today. And not only is change good, it is necessary, it is essential, it is imperative. And if you see people stagnating, and if you see organizations holding on to systems that have been in place for the longest time, you know that's not good for everyone, and that's not good for the future. So the second mindset is of motivational leaders is, I motivate them towards positive change. I motivate them towards positive change. And I should fear stagnation. I should fear mediocrity. I should fear lack of urgency. I should fear, in other words, complacency. First, people want to do well. I just need to show them how and help them discover how. Second mindset is change is necessary. Stagnation, mediocrity, complacency are our enemies. Number three, number three, yes, they want to do well. Yes, you want to change. But the third mindset is this. This is very important, because you might stop the effort if you don't have this mindset. The third mindset of motivational leaders is this. Motivation, my friends, will take time. Leadership will take time. You will not see results immediately. You need to be patient. You need to be patient with people. You need to be patient with your organization. People would want to stay with what's familiar. People would want to stay with what they're good at. People would want to think that these are their strengths, these are their weaknesses, and they're born with it. So they need time to adjust their approaches, to adjust their habits, to adjust their lifestyle according to the new standards that you have motivated them to adopt. And so time should work for you. What do I mean by that? Because it could take time. It's important for you to start the change journey early. It's important for you to not rush things. If there's something important that you want to see in your organization, don't try to yank people towards those new policies. Allow them to adapt to it. I'll give you an example. I run a manufacturing company. We manufacture breads, we manufacture confectionery. And we have around, it could go up to over 20 people during the peak seasons, but on a regular, slow season, we've we've retained around 15 people. That's the reduced number after we did um, an audit of what we really need and improve our efficiencies. We trimmed the workforce down to around 15. There was a time that we had around 40 people working for us, and realizing how our inefficiencies they were causing us to lose profit, we and make the organization sustainability suffer. We managed to trim them down, at least the number of people. But there was one key element in our productivity that needed to be put in place. Yes, we were able to bring down people to what was the right number given our production capability and our target outputs. But there's one thing that we needed to have, and that was a lean approach to doing things. Not just a lean organization, but really a lean approach to doing things. Meaning we needed to convince people to be more lean in the way they run the business, because I won't be there every day. Trisha won't be there every day to manage how they're doing things, to manage the step by step. So they have their own leaders within the various sections our business, but they needed to think of lean, of efficient, of cutting out waste. So how did we motivate them towards that? We did seminars. We brought them to one of our summer learning sessions slash team building. We brought them to a beach and we lectured on lean management, lean operations, and we kept reinforcing that message as often as we could. Did they change immediately? No. I tried to get them to change. I went to the bakery to sit with them. But I did what I could. But it took them 2 years, 2 years to realize the need for greater efficiency, to realize the need of how of that they could do things better in the operational side of things, meaning in how they do the step by step processes within the manufacturing area of our business. Just this year, oh no, rather last year, around October of last year, we were preparing for the push to manufacture for the Christmas rush. So we were preparing to hire additional personnel and preparing also for the night shift, because beginning usually October, we start operating on a 24/7 schedule. We would have a few people working at night, the rest would be during the daytime, and the machines and the entire operations would be running 7 days a week, 24 hours, just to keep up with the volume of demand during that season. October of last year, Ma'am Joanne, who's our operations lead there, and also the lady helping us oversee things, came to me and said, "Attorney, hindi na daw natin kailangan mag-hire ng dagdag na tao. Attorney, hindi na daw natin kailangan mag-night shift." Really? So I doubted that. I said, "Can we meet the demand?" She said, "Yes, kaya. Kaya." What I didn't know was our production people already talked on how they can improve things, they could make things more efficient, how they could be more lean. And it worked. They produced the same volumes, doing less work within less amount of time. But how long did it take for them to make that shift? 2 years. Especially in larger organizations, change would not happen overnight. So that's a third mindset. Motivational leaders, be patient. The mindset, motivation towards change can take time. Okay? Number 4, review muna for those who just tuned in. These are the 3 key mindsets of motivational leaders that we've talked about so far. Number 1, people want to do well. You just need to show them how. Number 2, change is necessary. Change towards better approaches, change in your people is essential. Number 3, motivation towards change could take time. It will not happen overnight. Number four, the fourth mindset. Motivational leaders know, and they have this mindset: I am not the star. Leaders who wish to be the superstar in the organization will not motivate people. When you lead people and empower people and coach people and mentor people, you need to be willing to lift them up. You need to be willing to give them the stage. You need to be very generous with your praise. You need to point out how the little things that they did actually benefited the larger organization. So you cannot be a motivational leader with a star complex. Motivational leaders are some of the most humble, some of the most soft spoken. I would even say that some of the most meek individuals. They motivate you, they push you, they challenge you, they goad you towards achieving great things, but they don't put the spotlight on themselves. When they put the spotlight on themselves, they make the entire place dark, and that's not a good thing. Motivational speakers show the way, and in order for you to show the way, you need to take that spotlight out of yourself and on towards directions where you want this organization and your people to go. You're not the star. I'm not the star. Now, this is hard when organizations achieve success. The temptation to be the star happens not when you're still climbing up, not when you're facing tough times. The temptation to be the superstar, to bring the spotlight towards yourself, actually happens when you've achieved some level of success. Remember, my friends, be careful when you experience success because that's when danger could happen. Here's a here's something I want you to imagine. Tough times, tough times, difficult times, they bring out good leaders, great leaders. Because great leaders step up during difficult times. They're willing to do the more dangerous tasks, the more risky roles. Now, those good leaders will create good times, prosperous times. And when there's prosperity, that's where the tendency to be superstars and to be complacent, to be lavish in spending, to make offices so nice, it's hard for you to be happier elsewhere. It's hard for you to be happy in a restaurant when your office complex is so nice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but there's danger when you do that. Because when there's great success, the result usually is you create weak leaders. When you create weak leaders, those weak leaders, those leaders who don't develop strong psycho-emotional capabilities, will lead the organization towards bad times. You imagine the cycle? Bad times bring about great leaders. Great leaders lead us toward good times. But if we're not careful with good times, if we're not careful to not be superstars, if we're not careful not to be complacent, if we're not careful to just lounge around, the danger is it could lead towards it could lead towards building a generation of leaders who are weak, and those weak leaders will lead to bad times. That's the fourth mindset. I am not the star. And remember, you need to adopt that mindset, especially during good times. It is in good times where you want to train, build good values among your people, and really be a role model of a good motivational leader. Okay? Review first for those who just tuned in. Number one, mindset. People would want to do well. They desire to do well. I just need to help them discover how. Number two, number two, change is necessary. It is not just beneficial, it is necessary. Change in the organization, change in people is necessary. That's why I should motivate them towards that. Number three, motivation towards change will not immediately take effect within the next few days. Change could take time, and so motivation leaders need to be patient. Number four, especially during good times, don't be the star. Resist the temptation to be the star. Resist the temptation to bring the spotlight onto yourself. Instead, direct that spotlight towards where your organization should go, or direct that spotlight on values that need to be retained in order for you to sustain growth. Number five, here's the mindset of motivational leaders. Yes, I will hold on to my big dreams. Big dreams and small wins are equally important. Again, fourth mindset. Big dreams and small wins are equally important. I am not the leader who will only be happy when we achieve great things. I am also the leader who will celebrate the day to day incremental improvements in people and my organization. But those day to day incremental improvements should not also blind me from the need to achieve greater things. As a motivational leader, parang ganito daw, you need to be like a helicopter leader, not an airplane leader. What do I mean by that? When you're on an airplane, you fly so high that you can see the forests. In business terms, you're seeing the big picture. Okay, if you notice, I'm not using business jargon here. We're we're actually trying to simplify business language, especially when we teach corporations. Konting patalastas. I'm trying to make the lessons as as layman as possible. So again, we go back. So a leader can be like an airplane looking at the big picture, but you're not seeing the individual trees and how beautiful they are. It is better that you're a helicopter leader or a chopper leader. You can still see a vast area of the forest, but you could see the colors of the trees. You can still see how they sway. You can still see the animals around and on the floor of the forest. So you're high enough to see a wide area, but you're close enough to notice. You're close enough to notice. And so motivational leaders are not just they just don't talk about vision and dreams. They just don't talk about KPIs. They don't they don't talk about bottom lines. They also talk about what makes them happy working with people they work with every day. They also talk about the little things that the organization does to make a particular client happy. So, big dreams, small wins, equally important. Equally important. You celebrate your small wins, but you hold on to your big dreams. Celebrate your small wins, hold on to your big dreams. So those are the five mindsets of motivational leaders, my friends. One, people want to do well. Number two, change in people and the organization is necessary. Number three, motivating people towards change can take time. Be patient. Number four, don't be the star. Resist pointing the spotlight on yourself. Point it towards directions where you want the organization to go. And number five, big wins or big dreams and small wins are equally important. That's why you hold on to both of them. Okay? So those are the five mindsets. Whew. You have questions so far? I got a good question from Tyrone Lacerna. How how do you avoid becoming a superstar leader? Good question. I have two answers. One, a practical answer, and the other one is the real answer. Here's the practical answer. How do you avoid becoming a superstar leader? The practical answer, my friend, is this: never talk about yourself. Never talk about yourself. Talk about the people around you. Be generous with your praise. Be generous with your praise. If they could take the stage, allow them to take the stage. So it's a deliberate decision not to talk about yourself, not to talk about how great you perform, and a decision to talk about others, to point out, to praise, to notice people. And again, if there's an opportunity to speak, allow team members to speak. Allow team members to speak. You don't have to take the stage all the time. People know you're the leader. People know you're the manager. People know you're the supervisor. So for example, if you're a supervisor or manager and there's a project and you did very well, if you want to be a motivational supervisor, motivational manager, you allow your team leads and people who worked on the project to do the report. You don't have to do the report yourself. You could maybe open it as the person who is in charge of the project and then give space to your team members. The second one, and I believe is the real reason, is this: you will avoid becoming a superstar if you realize that it's really because of God's goodness and grace and not because of you. Our thoughts are not our thoughts, meaning you don't control how you think. If you don't control how you think, you will not be proud that you're so brilliant and that your strategies are so amazing. My strategy is so amazing. My decision was great. My. If you realize that your thoughts are really gifts from God. And the air that we breathe that makes our body able to move is also a gift from God. Then you would not become a superstar. You're a role player. Even if you play the role of a leader, you're still a role player. And you're still a beneficiary of God's goodness and grace. Practical answer: let others do the report, let others speak. You can open, avoid talking about yourself. And number two, realize that it is only by God's grace that we can think, especially your thoughts. It is only by God's grace that you can breathe and live and able to do the things that you do every day. Yeah. Any other question before we proceed? We have another very good question from our executive director Mike Liu, who's echoing questions from another group. How can you motivate someone who is depressed? This is a very hard this is a very hard question. One, because I know how it is to be depressed. Two, because depression can be triggered by many factors. There's not just one kind of depression. So you don't know how a person copes with depression is different from how others cope with depression. I want to just share with you two approaches, though, that I believe from my experience would help motivate people who are depressed. Number one, encourage them to continue doing what they're good at. They need to be happy doing what they're good at. Encourage them to sustain their habits, because people, even if they're depressed, they can still go through their habits, meaning their routines. And as they go through their routines, help them see what's great in what they do every day, the little things. Remember, big wins, small wins. So make them see the things in their day to day that are really great. So just encourage them to just keep on, keep on. Nothing major. You don't lecture someone depressed to do great things. It's depression is so anchored in life. It's so anchored in the moments of life that you can only survive depression as you see beauty and grace and love also within the normal things of life. So encourage them to just keep on and point out what's excellent in their routine and in their day to day. Number two, and this is, I think, very important in motivating people who are depressed: stay with them. Um, allow them to be with a group of people. This group of people need not be talkers, because introverted, depressed people might find them really annoying. But have people with them who you know are the more sensitive, the more tactful, the more mature ones. So two things: encourage them within their daily routines, and number two, have people around them. Huwag nyo silang iiwanan. But be careful with the kind of people that you put around them. They need to be tactful, sensitive, and mature. Okay? Can servant leadership be applied in a company? Okay. By the way, guys, there might be some questions that are applicable to other topics that I will still be discussing in the coming days. So I'll skip them because we're focused on the mindsets here. The mindsets here. So let's focus our questions on these mindsets, because there are a lot of areas of motivational leadership we are yet to cover. So I might be able to answer some of your questions as I do the lecture in the coming days. Questions on where motivation comes from will be answered tomorrow. Okay, so for all the questions about how do you motivate yourself, how do you motivate a manager, how can you stay motivated, servant leadership, those questions will be answered tomorrow as we talk about really the elements of motivation itself. Today we're talking about just the mindsets of a motivational leader. I defined the motivational leadership for everyone, and then talked about the mindsets. And after I answer a few more questions, I will be talking about one of the key elements of motivational leadership that would be essential to ensure the rest of the elements, which we will be discussing tomorrow in the coming days, will work. Okay, just a few questions. Hi from MSU ones in Caraga. Okay, here's another question from Ramil. How do you define a superstar leader? Okay, a superstar leader is someone who will not allow others to become greater than them. That's how I would simply define it. But you need to distinguish between a superstar leader and a bibo leader, or a leader who's just fun and who also wants to be on stage, and a people person. Okay, because some leaders would have personalities where they want to also show off. They're show men and women. There are those personalities, but it doesn't mean that you're a bibo leader, that you're on stage, that you're not allowing others to shine. A superstar is someone who, again, using the metaphor earlier, puts the spotlight on himself alone most of the time, and not willing to put the spotlight on others. Okay. Oh, here's a good question. May Rondael, my my dear childhood friend asks this question: how do you motivate someone who can't seem to know what they want? Here's the quick answer. Most people don't know what they want until we see possibilities, until we see ourselves improve. You don't see a lot of great things when your mind and your hands are limited by lack of skill and lack of knowledge. So, what I want is usually, meaning you form that by linking ability, opportunity, relevance. Okay, those three things, Sister May. Alam mo, ito should be a topic maybe tomorrow, but okay, I'll say it anyway. So when you link ability, opportunity, and relevance, then you help the person decide on what he wants. Okay, because what you want is usually something or should be something you're good at. You can't just want something you can never be good at. For example, I cannot want to become a basketball player, but I can want to become a speaker when my mom and my parents told me don't be too serious with sports because you're too small. But while saying that, they also said, you know what? We believe you can become a good speaker because you speak well, you have good clarity, and even if you're small, people listen to you. Huh, really? I have that ability? And then link that with opportunities to speak. Aha, there's opportunities to speak. I can be the host, I can be the MC. And then finally, there's the relevance of it, that I can be used and my skill can be used to do good to others, to help others. And so motivational leaders would want to help people see these three things. It will take time again, but in order for them to know what they want, they need to see what they can be good at. And this is usually driven by what they enjoy doing, because you will not enjoy what you can never be good at. Number two, what are the opportunities to do what you're good at? And three, what's the relevance of your ability and the value that you offer to people? Okay? Last two questions and then we will proceed. It's already 10:15. What time did we start? 9:30. Okay, I have 15 minutes. I'm not sure if I could finish the environment. Maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow. Okay. Any other question? Let's read through. Okay, my cousin in Ozamis asked this question: should we demote a leader who is not motivated to his work and his colleagues? Should we? Sorry for that. Okay. Should you demote? Well, that's a legal question. Demotion in role, maybe if you think that the leader is really not capable and he needs time to develop. I mean, if you can't put a person in a particular role that he's clearly not ready to perform. But demotion in terms of pay, you need to be very careful with it, because you can't just cut his pay because that's the pay that he signed up for. But you can maybe move him or even fire him. That's a quick answer. Nataw. Okay. Are there other questions? Okay. Um, a colleague from MSU is a psychology major, and he points out the fact that some people would differ in terms of openness or levels to their open mindedness. So he asks the question, how to develop the mindset that change is necessary when a person's trait is slow to openness. Okay? So, how do you open a closed mind, if I could simplify it that way? Because, yes, I did mention that motivational leaders would communicate the need for change. Okay. According to studies, my friend and everyone, the readiness of people towards change, excuse me, is really driven by two major factors, two very important factors. And whether they're more open than others, whether they easily adapt to the need for change, or they're less ready for change because they're less open to ideas from others. It's important for us to point out two very important things. And these things are actually the same reason why Filipinos are very slow in adopting change. Okay? Number one, Magno. Number one is a sense of urgency. A person's mind will not be open to options and possibilities if he actually thinks there's no need for it. If he thinks that there's no danger, if he thinks that he's actually secure, if he thinks that it's no big deal, he will not open his mind to it. So that's the first one. Now the thing is, especially when we're leading Filipinos, by the way, when we do trainings for Filipino corporations, we talk a lot about the psychosocial environment in the Philippines and our historical backdrop that makes Filipinos think this way or that way. So one of the things that Filipinos struggle with is a sense of urgency. If you ask Filipinos, kumusta ka? Usually they would answer, ganun pa rin. Sa Bisaya, mo gyapon. You think of this month, we're in March. You compare it to August, it's the same. So that sense of urgency, when it's lacking on a person, he will not be open to, because he's secure. Why, why change? There's no danger. There's no real benefit that will change my life. Why move? That's the first thing. The next one is really clarity of vision and purpose. When the vision is clear and my purpose there is clear in that vision, again, vision and purpose are two things, okay? Vision is where we're going, where this could go, and my purpose, does it align with that vision? Do I have a place there in that vision, in that great future? Do I have a role there? If I have a role there in that great future, then I would be open because, so what is my role? So those two things would help in opening minds, in developing the willingness towards change. If you want to read up on this, I would encourage you to read two books. Number one, Leading Change, and second one is The Sense of Urgency. Brilliant, brilliant books. Both books written by John Cotter. Okay, by John Cotter. Okay. So, yes, Magno, just to sum it up, we can't do a personality test on people's openness and calibrate it according to their level of openness. Although we do a lot of personality testing during our training seminars and lectures. But it's important for us to recognize that, yes, there are varying degrees of openness, but there are two common factors that can lead to greater adaptability, lead to people to become more ready for change. And that's that. Number one is really a good understanding of the sense of urgency, and number two, a clarity of the vision and their purpose in that vision. I might talk about a sense of urgency or leading Filipinos Friday, just specific to the issues that Filipinos face, because we teach a multi-racial context now, but still majority of them are Filipino. So when we do a lot of trainings, we share with all our participants why The Filipino learner, the Filipino employee, the Filipino leader is different. They're just different from the rest of the world or from other races. And so yes, I'll share with you a few thoughts on that maybe on Friday. Okay. Okay. I'll answer last question and we'll say goodbye for today. We'll continue the discussion tomorrow. So far we've talked about the mindset. I was thinking of doing another topic today, which is how to build that next element again. Surprise, I won't say it yet. So we'll do it tomorrow. What's one thing that's really important? Okay, May asks again, what were the books? Leading Change and A Sense of Urgency. Two books, Leading Change, Sense of Urgency, both written by John Cotter. John Cotter. Okay, last question I will answer from Coach Dean Sports Advocate Henry Daot. What can you say about leaders who think he knows everything and has answers or rebuttal for every point or issue you raise? Kana ganing bisan wala nay atuan kay dead end na pero mulusot ra gihapon. Okay. Uncle Hen, when we're talking to a leader or where okay, Coach Henry is raising an issue here. What if you're motivating a leader? It's a different thing because he's raising an issue. The context so far has been how do we motivate our followers? But this one, because he is in a unique position, he's a consultant to many leaders. So how do you motivate your north? How do you talk to your north? How do you talk to people who needs to recognize that they have blind spots? How do you convince people to open their minds to options? Unfortunately, these are our leaders. Interesting question. Okay. But the answer to this question, Uncle Hen, will have to delve into the science of persuasion. Because leading north is something different from leading subordinates. So when you're leading your north, you're technically persuading the person to take certain directions. And if that is a concern, us leading people above us, or consultants leading other leaders to change course or to consider other options, I will share the answer, and you need to tune in again when we talk about sales. I mentioned earlier that we will be talking about sales, and in my intro, I said sales need not be selling products. Sales can also be about selling your ideas. And so the answer to your question will be tackled when we talk about sales, selling options, selling a better direction, and selling change itself to a leader who needs the change. Okay, so that's it for today, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. That's quarantine learning session number 1 done. Motivational leadership. Just to recap quickly, we talked about 5 things. And these 5 things have got to do with the mindsets necessary to become a motivational leader. Number 1, believe that people want to do well. Believe in the best in people. Number 2, change is necessary. Motivate towards positive change. Number 3, motivation can take time, meaning we won't see results immediately. So start early, be patient, and motivate people towards better days, knowing that some might move quicker than others, others much slower. Number 4, don't be a superstar leader. Allow others to shine. Allow others to to take the stage. Turn the spotlights towards turn the spotlights toward visions, directions, and positive movements that can make people happy. Number 5, very important. Big dreams and small wins, equally important. Celebrate your small wins, but hold on to your big dreams, my friends. That's it for today. Be motivational leaders. Please apply this in your homes. Believe in the best in your children. Allow them to see change. Don't force them to change. Of course, when you're dealing with kids, change can happen much slower, but don't worry, they have time. My kids are 16, 13, and 9. I still have a few years. Daddy's not the star. Daddies who are superstars will actually create insecure kids. The person who can affect the confidence of the kids can be the dad himself. So don't be the superstar. Don't brag too much to your children. Allow them to shine. Encourage them. And finally, celebrate little improvements in their lives, in their habits every day, while you make them dream of big dreams. God bless everyone. See you all again tomorrow.